But it is now time to put our staff ambassadors to the test, because you have been very, very busy, all of you, posting away into the Q&A section. We have a load of open questions at this point in time, both for domestic and EU students and international and non-EU students. I'm just going to go from the top of the list of what we have. Some of these are put in as anonymous attendees. It'd be handy if you could say whereabouts you're applying from, just for future questions. Anonymous attendee asks, is access to workplace applicable to international students? Bridget, how about that? Is that something that is accessible for international students? Is that a program, or what is that?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. Yeah, Colin might have an idea of that. I'm not familiar with access to workplace myself. I do know that obviously a large number of the programs have significant industry links, and students do kind of have some experience during their course, but I wouldn't have a ton of information on the access to workplace, if that's a particular program that they're interested in or a particular scheme. But obviously the master's degree programs are quite intense since they're only 1 year long. So you are studying and doing quite a bit of work during that time. And obviously then during the kind of dissertation period or practicum period is where you might get more access to kind of industry issues and problems, and working on that through your dissertation process. So I don't know if Martin or Colin have anything else to add to that particular question.
Colin, Martin, anything to Colin? You have your mic unmuted, so what's your take on it?
I actually wouldn't know either. The best thing is to email access@dcu.ie. Otherwise, Martin would know. I will say my experience is mainly seeing domestic students, but again, I don't want to say for sure because I could be absolutely wrong.
Yeah, and just in a similar vein to that, Richard, I'd recommend if the student would like to email access and be able to get further clarification there.
Fantastic. So yeah, if there is a question which we don't get around to answering either on the Zoom this evening, do send it on. We'll have the details available for you. So yes, regardless of whether or not we actually get it to it this evening, your question will be answered by our very, very helpful advisors. Bridget, just back to you for a second, because what are the scholarships available for international students other than DCU merit scholarships? This one from Hammam, for accommodation and tuition fees as well. So it's quite a broad question, really. It's got it all in there. But can you talk us through some of the main issues raised there?
Yeah, and it's a very common question, obviously, for all students regarding sort of scholarship opportunities and where they might be able to access different types of funding for their program. And I know we'll be talking about that as well. But for international students and non-EU students specifically, the primary method of scholarships that we offer as an institution are the merit-based scholarships. Those are worth a €2,000 deduction to your tuition fees. They are assessed at the time of application. There's no separate application form you have to fill out. And they are based on your academic performance to date. So we would be reviewing your undergraduate transcripts and determining your eligibility based on that. Now, additionally, it's important to note that there may be some scholarships that are programmatic or faculty-based. So, for example, we have some scholarships for international students in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. We have a bursary there, which is also €2,000. And there are scholarships this year that have been introduced by the Faculty of Engineering and Computing for their master's degree programs, which are somewhere in the range of €2,000 to €6,000 for those. And then we would also recommend students to do a lot of research on your own. There may be scholarships available based on your home country where you're living. There are some national scholarships available in Ireland. So there's the Government of Ireland postgraduate scholarship. There's also Irish Aid fellowships. So there are a couple of different options available. And again, if anyone wants to email us directly, we're happy to send through the links for those scholarship programs as well.
Fantastic, Bridget. Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. Martin will also be giving a presentation a little bit later on in terms of funding for postgraduate. So we might hold some of the more funding related questions until then. I see there was one question specifically about the MA in journalism and whether or not that's helpful. Well, I can tell you it is. It's very, very helpful. So this is great that I can answer questions directly myself. It is a super program. It is something which I think really it is regarded as the best in the country for a reason. We all wanted to do that program because we knew you'd be going in with the best, really, really highly qualified student journalists and people who did have drive and ambition. There was excellent internships available as well through the MAJ program. I ended up in my internship in Today FM in the radio station there. Others have ended up directly from their internships. And obviously this is now 12 years ago, which is a long time ago. They have literally stayed in the same place where they were interning from DCU all the way through, which I think is kind of remarkable and just speaks to the level of quality of the training that they're getting in a really competitive area. Journalism is a tough place to end up in a career, but for people who have gone through an internship from the MA journalism program to still be there some 12 years later, I think is pretty remarkable. So thank you for that question. Let me dig another one out from our list. Another one for you, Bridget, actually. We're going to take this question from an anonymous attendee. Do students from India need to provide English proficiency if they completed a degree in the English language?
Yes, in most cases, you still have to provide an English language test, and this is due also to immigration regulations. So you would have to take the test regardless for your visa issuance. All of our English language test requirements are available online, as well as all the tests that are accepted. We accept a broad range of tests, including the Duolingo English language test, and all of the scores are available online as well. So it should be something that you can just submit with your application. You can submit at a later date if you haven't taken an English language test yet. So you can get a conditional offer based on your English.
Okay, very good. In terms of dormitory accommodation is obviously a big issue, which a lot of students at undergraduate and postgraduate level, everywhere across the country is having this issue at the moment. What, in terms of accommodation on campus, is available?
Yeah, I suppose what the advice that we always give students from our end is really to start early in that process. And certainly for international students, it can be difficult if you aren't familiar with Dublin or haven't been here before. So we're happy to provide additional information with regard to searching and looking for accommodation. But we're usually in contact with postgraduate students around March time to sort of talk about the on-campus accommodation allocation, and then we also provide information for where to look off campus. And I suppose we do a series of webinars, and I would certainly recommend, we have some great students on the call today. They're often a great resource in terms of learning about accommodation options. You never know, there may be students moving out of places or things that you can access. So we do have a great set of ambassadors, and we're really happy to put people in touch with students that way as well, to learn a little bit more about accommodation options available.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Bridget. And thanks to our student ambassadors again for doing that and sort of giving that advice, because you can give all the advice that you want. And if, from a sort of academic level, it's the lived experience is kind of often the most valuable thing. So thank you very much for that. Martin, we'll pose this one to you. This question from Claire Holton. What is the process of applying if you're still in undergrad in DCU? Can you be accepted before graduating?
So when it comes to applying, obviously, before you've graduated, it would depend. If they're in their current final year and they're applying for 2024, obviously they will be graduated before intake. We do have a number of students that obviously graduated just gone in September, October, that were already starting masters. So it is possible. My advice would just be to get your application started and in as early as possible. And like that, obviously, final year undergraduates can avail of a couple of different schemes if they are a DCU undergraduate. We will talk about this funding, obviously, later on in the presentations, but we have alumni discount schemes and so on as well, where it can help them towards their fees as well if they want to continue their postgraduate studies with DCU. So yes, in short to the question, yes, you can apply while you're in your final year.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks for that, Martin. Our next question, actually I see one there from relating to students from Ukraine. How do they apply, Bridget? I mean, is there a special situation for them? Are they caught in any difficult situation with regards to applications, or how would that work?
Yeah, there are some special considerations for those students from Ukraine, and I really would suggest that those students get in touch with us, and we can provide all of the appropriate kind of guidance in terms of submitting applications as well as fees implications, because it's a little bit different. So certainly do reach out to us. But yes, they can apply through the student application portal just like any other student. If they are having issues in terms of access to documents or transcripts or things like that, we can also assist them. So the best thing is to reach out and just get in touch with us, and we're happy to help you along the way.
Great stuff, Bridget. Fallon asks if Susie is possible to apply for the master's degree. Martin, I'm sure that's going to be something you address in your presentation later on. Give us a quick thumbs up if we are, or...
Sorry, Richard, could you just repeat the question, please?
Yeah, is Susie possible to apply for master's degrees? Can you get Susie on the
Yes,
master's?
absolutely.
There you
Yes,
go.
we're going to be discussing that in the presentation. Everyone's beating me to the punch with my presentation. I'll have nothing to talk about by the end of it.
They're very
Yeah, we will
keen.
be.
We'll get to it. We'll hold off. Save the good
Yeah,
stuff,
we're all
Martin.
about the money.
Absolutely. One question you might be able to answer for us, though, is how long does it take for DCU to answer the application of a person for a certain course? So if you're watching this online this evening and you are minded now, based on what you've heard from our ambassadors, that you want to go and have a crack at DCU, if you start an application, how long do you hear?
Yeah, so once you sort of actually finish your application, you more or less get an instant reply on your application has been successful, and then we will provide updates throughout the process, obviously, until when your application has been reviewed and then ultimately accepted and an offer made. So there is constant contact throughout the process, and we are looking at obviously increasing that level of contact as well throughout this year's cycle of applicants as well. So there will be very regular contact throughout the process. And like that, you can reach out to us on a number of our platforms as well. I always leave my contact information, obviously, where we look after postgrad recruitment and we look after our students. If they have any queries, they can reach out to us on the website as well regarding the access the status of their application. They can contact postgrad admissions as well. Everyone's very accessible.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Rupkatha from Kolkata in India says that she teaches biology at an undergraduate level and dabbles in science communication. I would love to apply, she says, for the MSc in Science and Health Communication course at TCU. So this is a language-based question again in terms of the IELTS and the TEFL exam. Is that mandatory before applying? I think you've addressed that, and the nodding head tells me, Bridget, that that is mandatory. But the second part of her question is she's wondering if it would be possible to find part-time jobs on a student visa.
Okay, great. Those are good questions. Yeah, as I mentioned before, you do need to submit the English language test part of your application. The second part of the question in terms of working part-time, non-EU students are allowed to work part-time during their studies. You can work up to 20 hours per week during term. And at breaks and over the summer period, you're allowed to work 40 hours a week. As we said, there's lots of opportunities for jobs, maybe either on campus or close to campus, and shops or restaurants, different locations. But we do always recommend to students, again, that a master's degree is an intense program to undertake. You're obviously coming for your studies and to further yourself in that manner. So really the focus should be on your studies, and if it works out to have a part-time job while you're doing it, then that's great, but you shouldn't count on that maybe as an integral part of supporting yourself.
Yeah, that addresses another question I saw there, which is it actually doable to work while you're in a full-time program? That, I suppose, is a very, very difficult thing, I'd say, given the intensity of the studies which are there. Obviously, you want to also have a well-rounded social life, as well as the extracurriculars and the networking opportunities at a postgrad level in DCU. So that is something I'd say both of you are probably going to advise students to really consider before you crack on to working while you're in a full-time program.
Absolutely. It's called full-time for a reason, because the expectation is that you are going to be working during that time on your degree. So the idea that there will be a lot of free time, as you said, Richard, it's about kind of expanding your network, doing things that are going to benefit you, and working alongside of that can be challenging. So you just need to think about your priorities and make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to be successful at everything you want to do.
Yep, good advice there, Bridget. In terms then, Martin, of programs being offered online, This is obviously something a lot of people are going to be quite interested in terms of the accessibility of postgraduate education. How much of the programs available are going to be ones which are offered online?
Well, now that we're sort of out of the post-COVID era, Richard, a lot of them have moved more into the traditional in-person lecturing because ultimately it was found students wanted that in-person experience. They learned better, they developed better in terms of their student social life as well. So the university responded to that in a number of the courses. Now, we do in certain aspects for certain courses offer part-time options where they might be online, or some of them might be online for a semester or for certain modules, but the vast majority will be in person. And that's obviously given the nature of obviously some of the teachings, given the nature of some of the subjects as well. For certain more practical based degrees, you need to be on campus for those as well. So for the vast majority, they will be mainly predominantly in person and on campus.
Okay, in terms of additional programs for 2024, 2025, obviously, you know, the offering from DCU is consistently evolving and consistently changing. Are there any programs upcoming which, you know, people might be interested in?
Well, there is a program that's just launched this year. It's an MA in documentary practice. So that will be for anyone wanting to pursue, obviously, that sort of career. If you want to see yourself as the cameraman on the next David Attenborough series, this might be the career for you. It is going to be getting more promotion, obviously, as we move through the postgraduate cycle. But that's probably our hottest ticket at the moment. There's been a lot of investment and a lot of thought and background gone into it. More details on it to follow. We're currently going to be discussing how to launch the program, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But that's probably our hottest ticket at the moment, is the MA in documentary practice with the Humanities and Social Science faculty.
That's fascinating. I'm all about that one. Simeon Boris actually has a question in the box there. He says he's interested in that MA program, asking how he knows when the application is open. I suppose it's wait and see on that one then, Martin. It's kind of just
Exactly. The web page is currently up and functional like that. It's mainly covering all the course details, content structure, that type of thing. Applications will hopefully be open shortly if they haven't already. They might have just launched obviously in this last week. But tell them just to keep an eye on the web page, keep an eye on obviously some of our socials. We'll be announcing that as it goes.
Okay. Cheers for that one there. Still a load of questions in here, so hopefully we can rattle through a few more before we move on. Anonymous attendee asking, saying that they've just finished their undergraduate in mass communication, but written their final year exam, but result is not yet out. Can I apply for master's degree, being it that my result is not out? So they don't have their results from their undergraduate program, and they're looking to see if they can apply then for master's degree. What's the situation there?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that one. For definitely for international students, that's not a problem at all. You can submit your application, submit the transcripts you have to date, and what the assessment team will do will review that. They'll make a decision based on that in most cases with a conditional offer, and let you know what you're required to get in your final exams, and then you need to submit those once those are available. And usually that's by the 1st of July for international students.
Sweet, thank you very much for that. An anonymous attendee from Greece asking, is it possible to apply for more than one course, Martin?
Yeah, so obviously, as far as I'm aware, you are able to apply for multiple courses. I don't know how that will work then if you get multiple offers. You'll be sort of put in a conundrum. So my advice would be to maybe pick a path and go down it. But yeah, there's nothing stopping you applying for multiple courses. Obviously, I can't comment on whether you'll get multiple offers or not. We love to see DCU students coming in any capacity, and more enthusiastic, the better. But as I say, there isn't theoretically anything to stop you.
Why not? Cast a wide net, they say.
Exactly.
Another anonymous attendee with another simple question. When can we expect the academic calendar for 2024, 2025?
Yeah, that's a good question. There should be a predictive calendar online, so you should still be able to see the tentative dates for the semester. And if you just go to the website and in the search box type academic calendar 24-25, it should pull that up for you, and you should be able to see those dates. Now, they're not confirmed generally until the summertime, so just keep an eye on the website for those.
Okay. Keep an eye on DCU online and social media for that one. Nola Regan asking a simple question again. Will the recording of this be made available? I'm sure a lot of people who aren't actually available or here tonight would actually like to have a look at it. Nodding there, so I think we can tick that one off.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be
Love
recorded and
that.
shared.
We have 32 open questions. We need to get moving here. We got a couple more of these before we get going. I'm trying to see, there was somebody who was asking about a program. Where is it gone now? In terms of, there was law and artificial intelligence. I can't find that one, but that seemed like a good question. I'll come back to it if I can find it again on the list here.
Richard, sorry, I'll interrupt there. I just answered that student and
Look
I've
at
given
that.
them more information on it because I've been working with those students recently. So I've replied to them in order to find more information. But I will notice just a theme here is that, you know, when we're talking about program specific scholarships, a lot of people are asking about funding specifically for that program. If the course webpage cannot answer those questions directly, it's probably better that you get in touch with faculty. Especially the Emilda program is a little different in terms of its funding because it comes from the Erasmus Plus grant. So just specifically, if you're unable to find the answer through the webpage, getting onto a faculty member might be your best bet to get the specific answer that you want.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of questions which are still out there and outstanding in the box about specific courses and specific options and funding programs for them. So hopefully if we're not able to get to them or not able to answer them directly, do get in touch with DCU and we'll be back to you to get those answered. A couple quick fire ones just before we go and move on to Martin's presentation on funding. Gabriela Alvarenga asks, hello, I'd like to know more about the application documents. Do you usually ask for 2 LOR and do applicants upload them, or does the reference do it? I'm not sure what the LOR is. Don't know the specifics of that one in particular. Bridget, you're nodding. What's the crack with the LOR?
Yeah, so letters of reference, I think, is hopefully what they're talking about. And each program, each course will have its own requirements for application materials. And the application portal is really great because it kind of prompts you through that application process, and it will tell you exactly what you need. So if a letter of reference or referee is required for the course that you're applying to, you will be prompted to enter the information for that individual. That individual will be contacted and will have to fill out the reference through the portal system. So it's not a separate upload of letters that are required, but the application form itself will tell you if it's required or not as part of that degree course.
One more, we'll take this last question though. One anonymous attendee saying they're interested in the graduate diploma in inclusive and special education. They're currently working as a post-primary teacher. In regards to the block release dates, are these full weeks of lectures, part-time, evening / online? And then also asking, can you progress to year 2 of the Masters in Special Educational Needs if you choose to after completing the graduate diploma? Thanks for that question, very detailed question. Do we have any sort of pointers or directions we can give there?
So usually when it comes to the block weeks, they are usually on campus and they can be quite intense. And the reason being is they are quite sporadic. They don't happen a lot throughout the academic year. So when the faculty do request students in, it's to make sure they cover all bases. So that usually will be a fairly full-on week, and it might be 2 or 3 days of that week, and it might be a number of hours of lectures. When it comes in, so the second part of their question was just in relation to going into the second year of the Masters. With that one, I'm not 100% sure. What I would recommend for them to do is contact the Institute of Education directly at ioe@dcu.ie. A member of the faculty there, probably the program chair, will be able to get redirected to that query and get back to them straight away. I just don't want to misadvise anybody. There's 96 plus postgraduate courses, so sometimes our details on some of the finer ones can be a little bit fuzzy, but that would be my recommendation.
Brilliant. And yeah, just to note some of the other questions, I've just had a look through, people asking quite obviously what the career prospects are once they complete these courses that they're interested in. Colin and the rest of the guys who are involved in career options will obviously be more than happy to get back to people individually, just to point out what previous people who've graduated from those programs have done and what they've moved on to. So Bridget and Martin, thank you very much for the hot fire, quick fire questions from our attendees here.